There were clocks in Ilyrian Hollow that no one could wind. They hung in silent homes, ancient taverns, forgotten attics, timepieces older than memory itself. Some had hands that refused to move, others ticked backwards or struck midnight at noon. And at the heart of it all stood the great clock tower, a towering structure of brass and stone at the village square, its vast face unmoving for 100 years. In that village lived Thalen, a humble clockmaker of 34 winters. His shop was a cramped warren of ticking, chiming marvels, cuckoo clocks, grand pendulums, tiny pocket watches. Each day, Thalen would wind, repair, and polish, yet always with one eye on the distant tower. He had grown up hearing the tales, when the great clock chimes once more, the stars will awaken. Children whispered it beneath blankets, elders spoke of it in reverent tones. Thalen had dismissed it, mostly. And yet, part of him always wondered. One autumn evening, as crimson leaves danced through the cobbled streets, Thalen locked his shop and strolled toward home. The air smelled of wood smoke and rain. As he passed the great clock tower, he paused. There, beneath the ancient doors, lay a letter, sealed with a wax sigil shaped like a star within a gear. Frowning, Thalen stooped and retrieved it. Thalen, it read. The time has come. The great clock must turn. Come at midnight. Bring no one. There was no signature. Thalen's heart quickened. A prank? A jest? Yet when he turned the letter over, a faint hum resonated beneath his fingers, as though the paper itself awaited his answer. He gazed up at the tower, its shadow vast beneath the starlit sky. At midnight, then, he whispered. The wind answered with a soft chime. The hours passed like drifting leaves. Thalen sat in his dim workshop, a single lantern burning low. The letter lay unfolded before him, its strange hum persistent, a vibration more felt than heard. He turned it over again and again, studying the wax sigil, a star nestled within a gear. He had seen neither emblem nor design like it in any book or record. By the time the clock above his mantel struck 11, Thalen had made up his mind. Donning a thick wool cloak, he pocketed a small brass key, the master key of Ilyrian Hollow, entrusted to him by his late father, once a keeper of the town's clocks. He also tucked a pocket watch into his vest, its face cracked but still ticking, a memento of his mother. As the final chime of 11 faded, Thalen stepped into the night. The village lay quiet beneath a velvet sky streaked with indigo and silver. Stars gleamed like polished cogs in an unseen celestial machine. Thalen's boots echoed softly against the stone streets. He passed shuttered shops and slumbering houses, the cool air prickling his skin. Above, the great clock tower loomed, its shadow stretching across the square like the arm of some ancient sentinel. At precisely midnight, the letter's hum ceased. The tower doors, massive and bronze-wrought, creaked open with a low groan. Lantern in hand, Thalen stepped inside. The interior smelled of oil, dust, and forgotten time. Great brass gears stood frozen in place, their teeth worn but sharp. Cables thick as his arm hung slack. In the center of the chamber, a spiral staircase wound upward into shadow. And there, at its base, stood a figure. She was tall and slender, clad in a long coat of dark leather. Her hair shimmered silver blue in the lantern light. Around her neck hung a delicate chain bearing the same sigil from the letter. Thalen, she said, voice low and melodic. You have come. Thalen swallowed. Who are you? The woman inclined her head. My name is Lysen. I am a keeper of the celestial mechanism. And you are to become its winder. A silence hung between them, thick with unspoken questions. Lysen gestured toward the staircase. Come. The clock stirs once more, but it cannot turn without a chosen heart. Thalen hesitated, then nodded. Lantern raised, he followed her into the shadows above. The staircase spiraled higher and higher, each step echoing with a hollow metallic ring. Thalen followed Lysen through the gloom, his lantern casting flickering shadows across the stone walls. As they ascended, the hum returned, faint at first, then building into a subtle resonance that seemed to vibrate in the marrow of Thalen's bones. "What is this place, truly?" he asked between breaths. Lysen glanced back, her silver blue eyes glinting. "It is what it seems, a clock tower. But also far more." She paused, one hand resting lightly upon the worn brass rail. Long ago, before the first stones of Ilyrian Hollow were laid, this tower was built to house the celestial mechanism, a device that mirrors the great clockwork of the heavens. She began to climb again. The stars turn. The world turns with them. The mechanism ensures balance. If it falters, she did not finish the thought. Thalen's mind raced. And the winder? "The winder is chosen to renew the mechanism's heart," Lysen replied softly. "To set the gears in motion once more, lest time itself unravel." They reached a great landing. Before them stood a vast chamber, its walls lost in shadow, its ceiling lost in stars. And there, at the center, rose the heart of the tower, an enormous sphere of crystal and brass, suspended by cables of gold. Around it, colossal gears hung motionless, layered like petals of an endless flower. Lysen stepped to the edge of the platform. "Behold the celestial core." Thalen approached in awe. The sphere pulsed faintly, as though alive. Within its depths, stars shimmered and swirled, a miniature cosmos trapped in crystal. "This is what the clock mirrors," Lysen said. "And why you were called." She turned to him, gaze solemn. "But first, you must pass the trial of harmony." At her words, a smaller gear-shaped pedestal rose from the floor. Upon it lay an intricately wrought key, silver and etched with unfamiliar runes. Lysen gestured. "Take it. The core must be wound anew, but only one whose heart is in harmony with the mechanism may do so." Thalen reached out. The key felt warm in his hand, pulsing in time with the core. As he grasped it fully, the chamber resonated, a deep, thrumming tone that rose into a soft chime. The trial had begun. As Thalen held the key, the platform beneath him shifted, gears unseen turned, and the floor began to move. A low chime resonated through the chamber. Lysen stepped back. "The mechanism listens," she said softly. "Now, it will test your heart." The stars within the celestial core brightened, swirling faster. The surrounding gears began to emit faint light, casting rotating patterns across the walls and floor. Thalen's breath caught as a voice, not Lysen's, but deep and resonant, filled the air. "Winder, speak. Why do you seek to turn the clock?" He swallowed, heart racing. I seek to protect it," he replied, voice steady despite his nerves. "To preserve what was meant to be kept in motion. And if the gears resist you, I will endure. And if time's weight should break you, I will still turn the key." A soft hum of approval echoed through the chamber. The patterns of light shifted. The floor beneath Thalen became transparent, revealing an endless void of stars and gears turning slowly in infinite space. Another voice spoke, this one lighter, melodic, ancient. "Harmony is not strength alone. It is understanding, balance, and trust." As the words faded, 3 figures appeared around him, phantoms of light and shadow. One was a child, smiling, clutching a small pocket watch, his younger self. One was an old man, stooped, eyes weary, his future self. And one was a stranger. Cloaked, face obscured, yet standing with open hands. Face them. Understand them. Harmonize with all you are, and all you may yet become. Thalen's pulse quickened. The child smiled brightly. "Do you still dream?" the child asked. "Or have you forgotten?" Thalen knelt. I do dream of turning the stars and watching the world move in beauty." The child beamed and faded. The old man stepped forward. "Will you carry burdens too great for one life?" Thalen bowed his head. "I will, if it preserves the turning of the clock." The old man nodded and faded. Finally, the stranger approached. No words were spoken, only a faint ache of loneliness and purpose. Without hesitation, Thalen extended his hand. "You are part of this, too," he whispered. The stranger took his hand, and in that moment, a surge of warmth flooded through Thalen's chest. The stranger's form shimmered, revealing countless faces, friends unmet, lives yet to be touched. As the figure vanished, the chamber rang with a great chime. Harmony is found. The patterns of light converged upon the core. The vast gears around it stirred, ticking forward one notch. Lysen approached, eyes gleaming. "You have passed, Winder." The pedestal before the core extended a keyhole. Lysen's voice was reverent. "Now, wind the core. Awaken the clock." Thalen stepped forward, heart alight with newfound resolve. Thalen stood before the celestial core, silver key trembling faintly in his hand. The vast mechanism around him had begun to stir, subtle vibrations coursed through the floor, the air thick with an expectant hum. Lysen watched silently from the edge of the platform. "When the core turns," she said softly, "the stars shall listen. The balance shall begin anew." Thalen drew a deep breath, stepped forward, and pressed the key into the waiting keyhole. It fit perfectly, as though it had always belonged there. "Do you accept the burden of the Winder?" The core's voice echoed once more, low, resonant, speaking not just into Thalen's ears, but into the marrow of his bones. "I do," he whispered. "Do you accept the burden of time's turning, and the unseen paths it shapes?" "I do." "Then turn the key." Thalen grasped the key with both hands. It resisted at first, cold and unyielding. He gritted his teeth, applying steady pressure. Click. The first notch. The core pulsed, light swirling faster within its depths. Click. The second notch. The hum grew deeper, richer, the surrounding gears began to turn in harmony, their movements graceful and inexorable. Click. The third notch. The chamber sang, a sound beyond mortal hearing, both vast and intimate. Thalen's arms trembled, sweat beading on his brow. The key resisted the final turn. One more. The core's voice was gentle now, encouraging. With a cry of effort, Thalen pushed. Click. The key turned fully. A deep boom resonated through the tower, through the stone, through the very air of Ilyrian Hollow. Above, unseen, the great clock's hands began to move for the first time in a century. A single, pure chime rang out across the sleeping village, a sound so clear, so perfect, that even the stars above seemed to flicker in response. Thalen gasped, sinking to his knees. The key withdrew itself, returning to his palm, now cool, inert. Lysen approached and knelt beside him. "You have done it," she said softly. "The first turning is complete." Thalen looked up at the core, its light now steady, calm, spinning slowly in time with the vast gears of the chamber. "What happens now?" he whispered. Lysen's expression grew solemn. "The clock is not fully mended. There are more turnings, more trials to come. The mechanism's harmony must be restored in full." She touched his shoulder. "And you, Winder, must walk the paths that follow." A faint smile tugged at Thalen's lips, despite his exhaustion. "Then I will walk them." The tower seemed to breathe around them, a living heart reborn. But beyond the stone walls of the clock tower, in the deeper folds of the forest, unseen figures stirred. The chime had been heard by more than stars and stone. And the Winder's journey was only beginning. The dawn that followed was unlike any Ilyrian Hollow had known. As the sun rose over the mist-cloaked hills, villagers awoke to the sound they had long thought lost, the steady tick-tock of the great clock. Its hands now moved with solemn grace, casting shifting shadows across the town square. Word spread swiftly. By noon, a gathering of townsfolk had formed beneath the tower, eyes wide with wonder. Thalen watched from the workshop window, weary yet unable to sleep. The events of the night had left him hollow and filled all at once. The key lay on his worktable, cool and still, its silver surface now marked faintly with runes he could not read. A soft knock broke his reverie. He opened the door to find Lysen standing there, her eyes gleaming beneath the hood of her long coat. "May I come in?" "Of course," Thalen replied, stepping aside. She entered, gaze lingering briefly on the array of ticking clocks. "You've already begun to draw them," she murmured. "Draw who?" Thalen asked. "The listeners. Those who can feel the clock's pulse." Her voice was soft, wary. "Some will seek harmony, others will seek control." A chill ran through Thalen. "What must I do?" "First," Lysen said, drawing a sealed scroll from within her coat, "you must understand the nature of what you now serve." She placed the scroll on his table. "The Codex of Turnings," she explained. "It contains what little the keepers know of the celestial mechanism's cycles." Thalen broke the seal, unrolling the parchment carefully. The scroll shimmered faintly. Intricate diagrams traced spirals of gears interwoven with constellations. Along its edges, handwritten notes in an ancient tongue danced like flame. He frowned. "I can't read this." "You will," Lysen said quietly. "In time. The clock's bond awakens more than memory." Before Thalen could respond, another knock sounded, rapid, urgent. Lysen stiffened. In a blink, her form seemed to blur, retreating into the shadows of the room. Thalen hesitated, then opened the door. A tall man stood there, broad-shouldered, dark-cloaked, eyes the color of storm clouds. A thin scar traced the line of his jaw. "You are Thalen Meyer," the man said, voice low. Not a question. "I am," Thalen answered warily. The man's gaze flicked briefly to the workshop's ticking clocks. "My name is Calrin. I seek audience, with the winder." Thalen's pulse quickened. "I'm afraid." But Calrin's gaze pinned him. "You turned the clock." The chime was heard far and wide. "Not all who come will ask." He glanced to the shadows where Lysen hid. His mouth curved faintly. "Keeper," he said softly. "You are not unseen." Lysen stepped forward, face unreadable. "And you, Watcher, are not welcome here." Calrin smiled thinly. "Then we are at an impasse." He looked back to Thalen. "But mark this, Winder, the first turn is but a beginning. The gears you have awoken stir the deep mechanism. And others seek to seize its heart." With a brief nod, he turned and strode into the street, vanishing into the growing crowd. Silence hung in the workshop. Lysen exhaled slowly. "So. The Watchers move already." Thalen closed the door, heart pounding. "What now?" he asked. Lysen's gaze met his. "Now," she said softly, "we prepare for the second turning." The hours that followed were restless. Thalen could feel it. A subtle pulse beneath his skin, like a second heartbeat syncing with the measured tick of the great clock above. The scroll lay unrolled across his workbench, its faint glow pulsing in rhythm with the unseen gears of the tower. Lysen paced quietly. "The Watchers will return. Calrin is their harbinger. They seek control, not harmony." Thalen nodded slowly, gaze fixed on the Codex of Turnings. "Why now?" he asked. "Why has the mechanism awoken after so long?" Lysen paused, her expression thoughtful. "There are cycles even the keepers do not fully understand," she said softly. But when the stars align with the mechanism's pulse, when certain celestial harmonies arise, the core stirs. She tapped the scroll gently. The first alignment has passed. 3 more remain. With each, a turning must be made, deeper than the last. Thalen frowned. And if we fail? Lysen's gaze darkened. Then the balance will break. Time will fracture, not just here, but across the weave of the world. A chill ran through Thalen. Before he could reply, the codex flared softly. Lines of text shifted, reshaping beneath his gaze, into words he could now read. The second turning lies beneath root and stone. Seek the well of hours, where the waters of memory flow. There, the winder's heart must turn anew. Thalen leaned back, breath caught. I can read it. Lysen smiled faintly. The bond deepens. The mechanism awakens in you. She traced a line on the scroll, a winding path marked by arcane symbols. The well of hours lies beyond the hollow, she murmured. In the elder forest of Valebrook. She met Thalen's eyes. Few have entered. Fewer have returned. Thalen swallowed. Then we go together. Lysen's smile deepened, touched with something softer. Yes. We go together. They packed swiftly. Lysen produced a slender blade etched with silver runes, a weapon light as a feather. She offered Thalen a small brass compass, its needle spinning lazily at first, then locking upon a faint path unseen to the eye. The mechanism guides, she said. As the sun fell beneath the western hills, they slipped quietly from Ilyrian Hollow, beneath starlight and the distant hum of the now turning clock. Beyond the village, the ancient forest of Valebrook awaited, a place where roots whispered secrets, and time bent beneath forgotten boughs. The second trial had begun. The road to Valebrook grew darker with each step. What had begun as a moonlit path soon narrowed beneath ancient trees, their boughs twisting high above to weave a living canopy. Silver-green moss carpeted the earth, roots thicker than a man's waist coiled like slumbering serpents beneath the loam. Thalen walked beside Lysen, compass in hand. Its needle now pulsed faintly with each measured step, as though ticking in time with the unseen mechanism. How will we find the well? Thalen asked softly. Lysen's eyes flicked upward. The forest remembers. When the stars and roots align, the path will reveal itself. She paused, placing a hand on the rough bark of an ancient ash. Listen. At first, Thalen heard only the faint rustle of leaves. Then, beneath it, a low hum, rhythmic, pulsing through the ground. It was not sound, but a vibration that matched the ticking pulse within his chest. The well stirs, Lysen whispered. We are close. They pressed deeper. Time seemed to bend within the forest. Hours passed, or moments. Thalen lost all sense of distance, his thoughts drifting beneath the constant, gentle pulse. Then, through a break in the ancient boughs, a clearing opened, a perfect circle beneath a sky ablaze with stars. In its center stood a stone well, rimmed with intricate carvings that seemed to shift and shimmer as one gazed upon them. Water pooled within, so dark it mirrored the heavens. The well of hours, Lysen breathed. They approached in silence. At the well's edge, a slender pedestal rose. Upon it lay an unfamiliar device, a complex arrangement of gears and crystal, shaped like a star entwined with a clock's face. Lysen's eyes widened. The harmonium. Thalen frowned. What is it? The key to the second turning, she replied. You must attune it, using the well's waters. She gestured to the pool. But be warned, the waters of memory reveal not only the past, but possibilities untaken. Some lose themselves in its depths. Water was cold as starlight. His reflection shimmered, then fragmented, faces, moments, dreams spinning beneath the surface. Remember why you turn the clock, Lysen whispered. Thalen drew a deep breath and submerged the harmonium. The device glowed softly, gears beginning to spin in silent rhythm. Visions rushed through his mind. His mother, winding a pocket watch as a child. His father, eyes weary, whispering, "Time shapes all things, Thalen." Lysen standing beside him beneath a falling sky. The great clock, its hands frozen once more, shadows creeping beneath its face. With a gasp, Thalen withdrew the harmonium, now pulsing with soft, steady light. Lysen smiled. "You have done it." But before he could reply, a new sound stirred the air, a soft chime, growing louder. From the far edge of the clearing, 3 cloaked figures emerged. Their leader's voice rang clear. "The winder comes far, but the watchers come farther." Lysen's blade sang free of its sheath. "Stand ready, winder." The second turning's true test had arrived. The 3 cloaked figures advanced slowly, their forms half-shadowed beneath the starlight. The leader moved with unsettling grace, a tall man whose hood concealed all but a cold smile. Behind him, a pair of watchers flanked his sides, robes marked with serpent-like sigils, the same that Thalen had glimpsed in Calrin's warning. "The well answers the winder," the leader intoned. "But its power belongs to the watchers. Surrender the harmonium." Lysen stepped forward, blade held low but ready. "This place is under the mechanism's protection. Turn back." The leader chuckled softly. "The mechanism falters. We shall shape what remains." He raised a slender hand. Shadows rippled outward across the clearing, tendrils of unnatural dusk that sought to coil around Thalen and Lysen. Thalen gripped the harmonium tightly. Its light pulsed faster, resisting the encroaching gloom. "Stand strong," Lysen whispered. "Let it guide you." With a cry, the first watcher lunged, dagger flashing toward Lysen. She met the strike with practiced ease, blade arcing in a shimmer of silver. Sparks flew as steel clashed against dark-forged metal. Another tendril snaked toward Thalen. Instinct flaring, he raised the harmonium. A wave of harmonic light burst forth, unraveling the shadow around him. The leader's smile faltered. "So the winder awakens in truth," he murmured. Thalen's pulse thundered in his ears. The harmonium seemed alive in his grip, its gears spinning in tune with the mechanism's pulse within him. "Do not fear," a voice echoed in his mind, the same voice that had spoken during the trial of harmony. "Turn the light to rhythm. Rhythm to will. Will to action." Breath steadying, Thalen focused. Each beat of his heart resonated through the device, light building until the clearing pulsed with a harmonious chime. The shadows recoiled, shrieking. With a final cry, Lysen disarmed her opponent, sending the watcher sprawling. The leader hissed, cloak swirling. "This is not over, winder. You turn one gear, we turn another." With a gesture, he and the remaining watchers vanished, swallowed by shadow, leaving the clearing bathed in starlight once more. Thalen sagged, breath ragged. Lysen sheathed her blade and approached, eyes full of both relief and caution. "You did well," she said softly. "The harmonium now holds the second turning." She glanced at the darkened edges of the clearing. "But the watchers will not yield. With each gear you turn, their hunger will grow." Thalen nodded, gripping the device tighter. "Then we keep turning," he whispered. "We finish what we've begun." The well of hours shimmered softly behind them, its waters calm once more. Lysen placed a hand on Thalen's shoulder. "Come. The mechanism calls us onward." Together, they stepped from the clearing, 2 figures beneath a sea of stars, walking deeper into the winding path of fate. The journey back to Ilyrian Hollow passed beneath a sky of molten silver. The stars seemed brighter now, as if the second turning had unlocked some deeper harmony between earth and heavens. Thalen felt it in every step, the pulse of the mechanism now thrummed faintly in his chest, aligned with the subtle ticking of the harmonium in his pack. Lysen walked beside him in thoughtful silence. Only as the village lights came into view did she speak. "You feel it now," she said softly. "The bond deepens." Thalen nodded. "It's as though I can hear the clock, not with my ears, but with something more." A faint smile touched her lips. "Good. You will need that sense. The third turning lies not in the world of stone and leaf, but in the currents beneath them." Thalen frowned. "What do you mean?" Lysen only shook her head. "Soon." As they entered the village square, dawn's first light kissed the clock tower's face. Already, townsfolk were gathering. The second chime had echoed through the hollow just before their return, a pure tone that had roused dreamers and skeptics alike. Among the crowd stood familiar faces: Elder Mirren, the weaver Kale, young Mira with her ever-curious gaze. And near the tower's steps, Calrin, watching silently beneath his dark cloak. The moment Thalen and Lysen appeared, a murmur swept the square. "The winder returns. He's turned another gear. What does it mean?" Lysen stepped close. "Be cautious. Many seek answers now, not all for the right reasons." Before Thalen could reply, Calrin approached. "You move swiftly," the watcher said, voice even. "The second turning, an elegant piece of work." Thalen met his gaze steadily. "We won't stop." A faint smile. "Nor will we." Calrin's eyes flicked toward Lysen. "But the third path will test more than resolve. It will test truth." With a nod, he turned and vanished into the growing crowd. Lysen exhaled softly. "He speaks true, for once." She led Thalen quickly into the workshop. Inside, the Codex of Turnings awaited. Already, its text shifted anew, a third path unfolding. The third turning lies beneath the veil of tides. Seek the echoing deep, where time's flow meets the breath of the sea. Thalen stared. "The sea?" he murmured. "I've barely left the hollow." Lysen traced the new symbols. "The veil of tides is old, a hidden inlet beyond the eastern cliffs. Few know its ways." She looked to him, eyes steady. "And beneath its waters, the next trial waits." Thalen swallowed. His heart pounded, not with fear, but with a growing certainty. "I'll go," he said. "We'll go." Lysen smiled faintly. "Then gather what you need. The tide waits for no one." Preparations were swift. By midday, Thalen and Lysen stood at the village's eastern gate, packs laden. The harmonium now pulsed with a soft, rhythmic glow, its gears turning slow and steady in tune with the unseen mechanism. Before them stretched a winding path through golden fields and ancient wood, sloping gradually toward the distant cliffs where the sea whispered beyond the horizon. Thalen adjusted his pack. "I never thought I'd see the ocean," he admitted. Lysen smiled faintly. "Nor did I, once. But the mechanism turns in many ways." As they walked, the air grew salt-heavy, the scent of brine mingling with the sun-warmed earth. The road narrowed to a cliffside trail where gulls wheeled overhead and waves broke far below. By nightfall, they reached a secluded cove veiled in mist, the Veil of Tides. It was a place of strange beauty. Water lapped at stone arches draped in hanging vines. Moonlight shimmered upon the tide pools, revealing faint patterns of interlocking gears etched in the rock, marks left by those who had come before. "The path lies beneath," Lysen whispered. She led him toward a narrow archway half hidden by kelp. Beyond it, a shallow tunnel sloped beneath the cliff. Walls slick with salt and age. "The tides will guide us," she said. "But beware. The echoing deep is not bound by simple time." Thalen's pulse quickened. Together, they entered the tunnel. The descent was strange. Each step seemed both heavy and weightless. Water lapped gently at their feet, then ankles, then waists. Yet though the tide rose, they breathed easily, as though an unseen force kept the air thick and calm. Faint echoes drifted through the passage, not of voices, but moments. A child's laughter. A weaver's song. A distant chime. Thalen shivered. Are these memories? Lysen murmured. The deep reflects all who pass. Stay focused. At last, the tunnel widened into a cavern of glimmering blue stone, lit by shafts of silver light from hidden fissures above. At its center floated a vast ring of bronze and crystal, suspended above a still pool. The third turning, Lysen breathed. The ring of tides. The harmonium pulsed faster. As Thalen stepped toward the ring, the water beneath him shimmered, ripples of time spreading outward. Winder, the deep spoke, its voice layered, ancient, vast. To turn the tides of time, you must surrender to their flow. Thalen hesitated. What must I do? Step within. Let the tide reveal who you were, who you are, who you may yet be. Lysen touched his arm. I'll be here. Drawing a deep breath, Thalen stepped into the ring. Water rose around him, cool, weightless, luminous. The world blurred. Visions swirled before him. Himself as a boy, building clocks from scraps. His mother, her laughter bright and fleeting. A future self, standing alone in a darkened tower, hands trembling. Face them. Choose harmony, or drift forever. Thalen steadied himself. I turn the clock not for myself, but for all it touches. I will face what comes. A deep chime echoed through the cavern. The water stilled. The ring spun slowly, its light aligning with the harmonium's pulse. You have chosen. The third turning begins. As the light faded, Thalen emerged, drenched but steady. Lysen smiled. You remain. He looked to the ring, now still once more. The third gear turns, he whispered. Yet as they prepared to leave, a new presence stirred beyond the cavern's edge, a figure cloaked in sea mist and shadow. The winder awakens many things, it spoke. Some best left beneath the tide. Lysen's blade flashed free. Thalen stood tall. The tides had turned. But the storm was yet to come. Mist coiled in the edges of the cavern, thicker now, swirling with an unnatural chill. The figure stood half-shrouded, cloak wet with sea brine, face hidden beneath a deep hood. The winder wakes many things, it repeated, voice neither male nor female, a layered, hollow sound, like wind through hollow stone. The ring of tides stirs old currents. Tread carefully. Lysen stepped forward, blade gleaming in the faint light. Who are you? The figure's hood tilted slightly. A watcher, of a different order. Thalen's heart quickened. You're not with Cowran's kind. A low chuckle echoed. No. The veil holds more than shadows and serpents. The figure raised one gloved hand. Within its palm shimmered a small device, a miniature clockwork sphere, spinning impossibly, gears within gears. The tides grant sight. You have faced yourself. But know this, each turning wakes more than memory. They stepped forward. The mist parted slightly, revealing piercing silver eyes within the hood. The fourth turning lies deeper than stars, beneath the roots of the world. Few survive its calling. Lysen's grip tightened. Why warn us? The figure's head inclined. Because not all seek the mechanism's undoing. Some remember its purpose. They turned, mist swirling around their form. The next path waits beneath the hollow's heart. When the fourth chime sounds, seek the ashen stair. With that, the stranger vanished into the fog, leaving silence in their wake. For a long moment, neither Thalen nor Lysen spoke. Then Lysen sheathed her blade slowly. An echo binder, she murmured. I had thought their order long gone. Thalen stared after the vanished figure. Can they be trusted? A faint smile touched her lips. Trust is rare in these turnings. But sometimes, truths hide within riddles. She placed a hand on his shoulder. Come. We have what we need. Their return to the surface was slow, dreamlike. Above the veil, dawn had begun to bloom. The tide had retreated, leaving patterns of gear-shaped drift along the sand. As they made their way back toward the hollow, Lysen spoke quietly. You have faced 3 turnings now, Thalen. The next will be harder still. He nodded. I feel it. With each step, the bond deepens. She met his gaze. Then we must prepare. In the village square, the 3rd chime rang. A tone of shimmering depth that seemed to echo not just through air, but through bone. Villagers gathered once more, faces alight with awe and fear. But above them, unseen in the tower's shadow, Calrin watched, and smiled. 3 turnings, soon, the heart will stir. His voice was soft, meant for no ears but the stars. Within the workshop, the codex of turnings unfurled anew. The 4th turning calls beneath root and stone. Seek the ashen stair, where time sleeps and dreams awaken. Thalen touched the new symbols. The pulse within him quickened. Beneath the hollow, another path awaited. And the dream would turn once more.